vigorously self-direct, initiating, creating, doing, reflecting, freely associating, enjoying privacy. These are precisely what the structure of schooling are set up to prevent, on one pretext or another. In the story of fiat public schooling, curiosity is killed as early as possible. Playtime is replaced with rote memorization. Self-understanding is replaced with critical race theory. The story which was written for us may not have had nefarious intentions originally, but it certainly seems to now. And as Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage. And under a fiat standard, that stage is controlled by central planners, and individuals are mere players in their centrally planned drama. Under these conditions, we are prone to behavior rather than action. In other words, when we give the state the authority to author our lives, each time we fail to self-author our own. This distinction between action and behavior is understood by economists as the difference between behavior as reflexive, conditioned reflexive behaviors, and action as purposeful action. And it is these reflexive behaviors that we become lost in meaninglessness. Vices like addiction, endless social media scrolling, the repeating of unconscious programs, substance abuse, etc. All these cheap sources of dopamine are addictive and reflexive. These patterns are easily ingrained when a sense of higher purpose is lacking, which makes individuals susceptible to behavioral conditioning by the state. Larry Fink of BlackRock recently said, behaviors are going to have to change. You have to force behaviors. At BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors. Without individual purpose and passion, people turn to virtue signaling instead, where their own individual action is subsumed by state-sponsored activism, LGBTQ+, BLM, climate change activism, etc., all encouraged by the same central planners that issue ESG mandates. If enforcing behaviors, as Fink says, the natural human instinct to find flow is obstructed. Curiosity is turned into conformity. Passion is turned into addiction. Purposeful individual action substituted for state-sponsored activism. Autonomy is eradicated, and captivity is conditioned. And self-mastery is punished, while mediocrity is rewarded. Excellence, a virtuous ideal always worth striving for, is reclassified as discriminatory and replaced with participation trophies and body positivity. By hindering the human capacity to face challenges courageously and thus develop competence, we undermine the human capacity for virtue. As Csikszentmihalyi puts it, of all the virtues we can learn, no trait is more useful, more essential for survival, and more likely to improve the quality of life than the ability to transform adversity into an enjoyable challenge. Seen in this light, the greatest act of rebellion against the state that feeds on a fractured society is to make flow and its properties sacred ideals in our lives. As sovereign individuals, we want to make it a moral duty to reject participation in the state's fractious narrative and embrace virtues that flow allows us to cultivate. Instead of fighting the state's story, we can each be the peaceful revolution we wish to see in the world. We can write something new, but to do that, we have to fervently protect and passionately encourage our most curious minds, those who are the most vulnerable and most precious to us, our kids. I once read that the moral test of a society is how it treats its children. Does this look like a healthy society to you? I ask myself, what kind of ideal must I strive for in order to protect a world in which Penny's curiosity, passion, purpose, autonomy, and self-mastery are hers and her alone? What is required of me individually? Even in this question, Bitcoin, as the antithesis to fiat statism, offers us great inspiration. Imagine if the ideologies of Bitcoin and fiat were to take human form. As cyborgs engineered for the task of protecting everything you cared most about in the world, your son, your daughter, your family. First, imagine a cyborg coded in the spirit of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, endowing itself with unquestionable authority and left to protect your loved ones. It would lie every day. It would make promises it doesn't intend to keep. It would waste energy and resources for purposes of violence. If it ran out of resources, it would borrow them from the savings you set aside for your kids without your permission. It would coerce, deceive, and manipulate without remorse. It would be abusive and demanding. It would gamble away your kids' savings and then steal everything your loved ones owned. If things got tough, it would even instigate a war and conscript your children to die for its debts. Grim stuff. Now let's instead imagine a cyborg with the values and virtue of Bitcoin. It would have a singular goal: to offer perfect security to you and your loved ones. It would never lie. It would be radically honest, because Bitcoin is truth. It would never stop working. No watt would be expended wastefully. It would have its door open to protect not just your family, but everyone else in the neighborhood. It could never be coerced or deceived, and it would always verify rather than trust. It would save energy to support your kids and store it safely into the future forever. It would adapt itself to any and all conditions to fulfill its singular purpose. And it would exhibit perfect integrity in that it would only ever do exactly what it says it will do. A truly humbling standard such a cyborg would set as a guardian. In a truly positive world, it would provide for a child to grow and develop. A world of love, safety, and trust. A world where their excellence is encouraged, from curiosity to passion to purpose to autonomy, all the way to self-mastery. As first-generation Bitcoiners, it is up to us to be this change we wish to see in the world. And we should embrace this challenge as the defining struggle of our lives. As Thomas Paine wrote, "If there must be trouble, let it be in my day, so that my child may have peace." Thank you. Thank you, Mark Moss, for that quote, by the way. As a father, I want to be able to protect my daughter from the malevolence in the world, but as a mortal, I know that one day this will be impossible. I have deep gratitude to the symbol of Satoshi as an immortal guardian for my daughter, and one that will persist long after I'm gone. And it is this pursuit of flow, virtue, and excellence where I pray we can all find meaning in life. Thank you.
Welcome back. I'm Pete Rizzo, editor at Bitcoin Magazine. We're here again at the Bitcoin Magazine live desk broadcasting from Bitcoin 2023, joined by our special guest now, Amanda Cavalieri, chair of the Bitcoin Today Coalition, Marty Bent, host of the TFTC podcast, and Jordan Schachtel, independent investigative journalist. We just heard from Robert Breedlove, host of the What is Money podcast. His message: the economic system is failing. We must try to find it within ourselves to fix it. Amanda, throwing it over to you. What is the future we see with Bitcoin? How are you waking people up to this problem?
I think people are waking up on their own. I mean, we change through either pain or pleasure. Most of us are so brainwashed to only change through pain and we're about to get a lot more pain. I think we're going to see more banks collapsing, more governments trying to get more control, and that's just going to hurt people on a larger and larger scale. So as we as individuals feel the pain and have to reconcile with that, ideally, they can get onboarded to Bitcoin at that time and see the value in this and why it's actually important.
The failure of the system driving people to Bitcoin. Marty, your take?
Yeah, I think it's definitely happening. People are wondering why our price is going up, why the quality of my service is going down, and they're intuitively feeling that pain and then going to go seek a solution. And Bitcoin is that solution. And so it's just.
But things are getting worse, right? Inflation, a 40-year high. We've seen economic activities have been in the red, a recession coming this year, but yet we're not really seeing the price of Bitcoin go up. Jordan, I'm just wondering your take.
Yeah, you know, one of the amazing things about Bitcoin is that it's a true custody solution for what we're seeing with what Amanda just talked about with all these banks failing. I mean, if you're over the FDIC limit, the government basically just told you that if you're in the wrong bank, you could be in big trouble. You know, with Bitcoin, there's custodial, you can take custody of your own asset, which is an amazing technological revolution. And I think that it's basically only a matter of time before many more people realize it. And the Bitcoin conference is a great place to educate people on this solution to the problems that we're currently facing.
Largest banks also in trouble, Silicon Valley Bank. We've seen these collapses. Amanda, how is this playing in Washington? Are they waking up to the fact that their system has faults?
Most definitely. I mean, we've, with the Bitcoin Today Coalition, have been meeting with ag, finance, all of these different committees. And especially right now, it's interesting to see Democrats and Republicans being equally concerned with Gary Gensler's stance on all of this, on digital assets, and not being able to say, you know, what's a commodity and what's a security. It's very obvious that Bitcoin's a commodity. He said that several times. But the inability for him to move to what's next, what's a security, they're going to leapfrog that into what are stable coins. It's like, well, who does that benefit at the end of the day? So it's like looking at just how broken the incentive structure is. And the best thing that we can do and that we're trying to do is slow the train down a little bit so more people can get onboarded in the meantime.
We have banks failing. We have people adopting. Marty, your take?
Yeah, I mean, the future is now. If you're an individual who's dissatisfied with the system, you don't like what the government does, whether it's lock you down in your house, whether it's print too much money, you have the ability to take action and to opt in to Bitcoin, whether you want to acquire Bitcoin and hold it as an asset, or if you want to contribute to building out tools on the Bitcoin network. It is open source technology, and this power needs to be realized by more people. You do not have to wait for politicians to change the system. You can do it today. It's open source software. You can download a wallet, receive Bitcoin, send Bitcoin. You can change the world. You don't need to go ask politicians to do it. And that is extremely powerful.
Jordan, your take, how does Bitcoin fit into this current banking crisis, this crisis of confidence in the dollar right now?
Yeah, Bitcoin's just better money. I mean, if you want your money to be controlled by Joe Biden and Janet Yellen and the Congress, those terrific moral people, then by all means continue to stuff that cash under your mattress. But we have a terrific solution that was discovered in 2008 and continues to showcase its applications through its continuing market cap. We're now at hundreds of billions of dollars in fiat value, and I think it's only going to continue to increase as people see the incredible value proposition.
And of course, the dollar only declining since its introduction. We're going back to the main stage, thermodynamic savings. You'll be hearing from Bill Miller IV and Michael Saylor in a fireside. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe, and stay with us here at Bitcoin Magazine Live. We'll be right back.
Since 2013, institutions have trusted BitGo for their digital asset needs. Backed by Goldman Sachs and other top investors, BitGo brings together the best of Wall Street and Silicon Valley to deliver institutional-grade security, compliance, and services. Today, we support a long list of coins and blockchain protocols and process 20% of all on-chain Bitcoin transaction volume for over 400 of the world's top institutions. When it comes to crypto, institutions trust BitGo.
Welcome back to Bitcoin 2023 here in Miami Beach, Florida, and to the Bitcoin Magazine live desk, brought to you by Marathon. So our afternoon sessions are about to begin. We're in a little lunch pause here, and I'm joined by Dylan LeClaire from Bitcoin Magazine, Matt Odell from Bitcoin Magazine as well, running our open source content, our open source stage today, and Jesse from OnRamp. So guys, really busy morning here, but the busiest, hottest spot in the entire venue is your stage, Matt. Tell us about what's going on in open source all morning.
The vibes are high at the open source stage today. We're very excited. It's very important to the org in general to support open source initiatives. Bitcoin is based in this open source movement, this idea of code that is bigger than any individual or any entity, not controlled by a company or a government. Bitcoin itself is open source code. So we have a stage dedicated to open source projects. We also have this nice little outside area where people can work and collaborate, and there's a separate bar up there. So that's upstairs. I encourage everyone to go up there. I would just add on top of that, we've had so much support within the org in terms of giving open source contributors free tickets to the event. So if you are a contributor to an open source project, we had 50 different projects listed. We gave out over 150 free tickets to open source contributors for them to come. And then just last but not least, it's currently